So I thought I would talk a little bit about the Paul Passion, but from a slightly different angle. And because a lot of us have to write applications and all that kind of thing and justify our existence to a certain extent. So this was something I put together for arts and health. And the more I thought about it, the more I think the benefits of actually being part of a community theatre, such as doing the Passion Play, is extremely beneficial. So this was just a quote from Christopher Mellows, and he said, "It's a truly remarkable achievement and a triumph for all concerned. It was a brilliant example of what can be done by a community of people working together for and with each other. And it was a privilege to be a participant." And I think what's powerful for us, actually, it's interesting listening to how it must be working in a town where everybody's involved, or you try and get. But for us, I think we've created a community as well as working with the people in the community. And it's been quite an eclectic group of people who have come together to form the Paul Passion. And inclusivity has been very, very important in our work. So our play, Through the Eyes of the Child, I know that some of you heard about it last time, so I won't go into too much detail. But just to say that our play is set that the child wanders through the Passion Play and asks questions. So we've got, if you like, a fairly traditional play, but with a modern child asking all the questions that we would like to ask. Why is it happening? Why are people behaving in this way? And sometimes it's not a straightforward answer. But when I was first working on it, it was all going along fine. I was feeling quite happy with the way things were going. We were working through our scenes. But there was something missing. And I feel that it's very important in theatre to enable the audience to think and to challenge their thoughts. Otherwise, we're just watching something and it's all very nice. But by having somebody asking those questions, it made it more relevant. And that it was a child who can't really understand why people are behaving in the way they are is very powerful. So that's sort of talking about the same thing. So we're echoing the tradition of the Passion Play, but making it something new and making it a new tradition in Paul, because Paul is not a place that's had a Passion Play, but very quickly it's become a kind of tradition in our area, and that happened remarkably quickly, that people wanted that play to continue. It was never meant to be something that was going to be repeated, but as a grassroots project, everybody who took part in it wanted it to continue. And I think that there's a real challenge for us there, and what you were saying, what you do in between the Passion Plays, the continuity, the sustainability, because you have a kind of responsibility when you've got a lot of people, and especially if they live on their own, if they're elderly, or in our case we have quite a substantial recovering population in our group from drugs and alcohol abuse. You can't just say, well, that's the end. See you in 2 years' time, when you've kind of, created that kind of family atmosphere. So we have managed to sustain our project by keeping our workshops going and having other events. And as you can see, it is open to faith, interfaith and non-faith. And that's just again just emphasising that for us inclusion is very, very important. Making the crosses and the tables. Well, this has been something that has become very, very special in our particular project. We did, as we started out, on virtually nothing. We had crosses that we borrowed from somewhere else. And then as we started working with Action and Addiction, they have a carpentry department. So they actually made the crosses for us. But we ask them to be specifically so that we can actually collapse them and store them, because that's the other problem, isn't it? Suddenly we've got all this set, where are you going to put it? So we had a kind of IKEA type idea that we needed crosses that we could then collapse. And then in the last production, we asked Action on Addiction to make us the table, and I think hopefully there will be a picture. So this is, sorry, if you could go back there, yeah. This is just to sort of show you, this is how our play is made up. We've got our core drama group, which is an intergenerational group that meets sort of once a fortnight. At the moment we're meeting once a week because we've got another little project. Then we've started to work into schools. We've got an after-school club at Poole High. Action and Addiction. We've got the elderly, and then of course that's transport issues, but we do car shares, and we've started just to do a pilot of actually taking some of our workshops into care homes so that we're spreading the play. And Roots to Roots is a centre for homeless people in Poole, and again we take the workshops into them, and we do not actually do those workshops from the passion plays. They are just drama workshops, but then wonderfully, miraculously, one of the people from that group actually came and performed in the play. So by having this sort of central group, the work goes on in these different places, but we can feed people into our core drama group. Next one. So, that's just because it's a lovely picture of, I think that's shows the kind of workshop and marriage of lots of different people. What we're all working towards is the play, and that's what brings everyone together, whatever their background, whatever their experience. And people come together who would not normally meet each other. And I think that's a very exciting part of our play. Okay, next one. Truly multi-sensory experience. Yeah, that's another big part of our passion play, is that we work with multimedia. So we start in one church, Parkstone United Reformed Church, but apart from the play, we have film footage running at the same time, and we also have some live film that's put up of the group as they're acting, so there's kind of live VJing happening. And then the play then, when Jesus has to be sent to be crucified, then everybody moves out of that church and processes up to the second church, and outside there is performance in the graveyard there, and Sonny Lumiere outside the church. And last time we had it that all the bricks fell away and an angel came out of the main window and moved around. For us, even though we're working with a very, very mixed bag of professionals, non-professionals, people who've never ever done any drama, I'm sure this is very similar to how people are moving here, but we're still striving to make it a good artistic experience as well. And that means excellence in music as well. So that's this Mary, the two Marys there. And we change the actor who is playing Jesus. We think that's very important to have somebody different each time. Apart from anything else, it saves us. And again, I'm talking about it for myself. I could see that we could get into a bit of a rut, you know. We'd use the same film because we've made it with Jesus. But by forcing ourselves to have a different Jesus, and now actually a different child as well, it means that we have to remake all the film and to totally rethink what we're doing. And that's a good exercise for us. Otherwise, it just becomes what we're trying to counter, just sort of churning out something. And then a few years ago we had a woman Jesus. We found as well that spirituality and death was something that was very profound in our play, as it is with all passion plays, but for the audience who came, because we have a lot of people who came along and have been absolutely bowled over by how the whole experience has affected them. And one quote that we had was from someone who says, I'm not a religious person, but I've had a completely spiritual experience. I'm sure this is, there's a lot of people nodding. This is the power of the play. And of course, with the resurrection at the end, this is the moment of hope. And we've also found that some people come every night and watch the same play every night because it's obviously, in some ways, it's speaking to them. There's something in it, there's some solace that people are getting from actually watching the play so many times. I think that's kind of what I was just saying. Oh, and that's our Last Supper table. There it is. So this was made at Action and Addiction. And we haven't quite got it in because there's an actor right at the end who's an elderly actor from St. Peter's Church. And he wanted to have a bottle of champagne at the end of our play. And we had to gently say, well, actually, it's probably not a good idea because quite a few of our actors are in recovery from drug and alcohol abuse. But the wonderful thing was he didn't know. And that was the lovely levelling thing. He didn't know who was who. And I won't tell you who's who either. But in that table, there are people who've been to prison. There's people there who have struggled with drug and alcohol abuse. There's elderly, there's young, there's different sexualities all on that table, but they're together at that moment. And I think that something that, as I said, we're all striving to get the best we can out of our actors, but there's something very powerful. And when you've got somebody who has lived life, that authentic experience comes across. They don't actually have to say very much, it's there. And so that was our last, and I feel very proud when I see that everyone was there working so beautifully together, who would normally never have crossed paths with each other. Okay. Oh yeah, this was some guerrilla showing of the play. We thought we'd go around and just project before the play was, just to let people know that the full passion was going to happen. That was it. Yes.
Fantastic.
Well, I suppose the one thing that is, if I had to sort of sum up, having to think about words, I think our play is becoming a bridge, both ways, into the community. And a bridge about acceptance and working together. Whoever we are, we can work together and create something.